Time friends and some new friends, all here helping out Vinson. And Susan and I have gotten to know Vinson in the last few months. I guess earlier this year, he wanted to meet with me. And those of you all who know me, I've always been looking to make sure America's more competitive. I always wanted Virginia to be the best place for investment and jobs. And you have to have the right tax policies and right to work laws and affordable energy and reasonable regulations. And the other thing you need, as well as good infrastructure, airports, railroads, seaports, is a skilled, capable workforce. And the states, and indeed the countries that are winning, are the states where they have competitive, we were talking about Florida and Texas and Arizona and Tennessee and Nevada, that's attracting a lot of people because they have lower taxes. And you really do see the states that are winning, that are gaining population because they're getting more investment, are the ones that do have relatively or comparatively lower taxes, right to work laws, affordable energy, and the other key thing is a skilled, capable workforce. And that's why Vinson's campaign to be at large member of the school board here in Fairfax County is so vitally important. Education is a state and local responsibility. As Governor House said, law enforcement and education are our top two priorities. At the federal level, it's national defense, national security, making sure that there's a free trade as much as possible with the world and across state lines and all the rest. And Susan and I met with Vinson. I was so impressed with him, not because he's a politician. In fact, the fact that he was not a politician, who was very sincere in his heart on what he saw needed to be done here in Fairfax County in the schools. And all three of our kids went to Fairfax County public schools. And one of the things that impressed me is he wanted standards, he wanted accountability, and he talked about history standards and how important it is for young people, whether their families have lived in this country for generations and decades and centuries, or they've lived here a few years. He was telling me on how important it is that they understand the history of America and our freedoms, freedom of religion, where rights are not enhanced nor diminished on account of religious beliefs, and freedom of expression for men and women. Private ownership of property, which is the basis of the free enterprise system, rather than run by a government or a monarchy or theocracy, and also the rule of law, where our natural God-given rights are protected and disputes are fairly adjudicated. And so Vinson, I think, is a messenger that'll cut through and the school board issues are not necessarily Republican versus Democrat. It's what's best for the young people like this young lady here, or that brave young man who came up and said it's so loud that it's echoing. Wherever he is now, he's probably eating at the trough. After it's good work. But Vinson is a person who I think is just going to be a great candidate. We have Steve Mosley here also. Steve, raise your hand. He's running from this to the Mount Vernon area around here. I know we have people from all the way up in Loudoun County here. You attract all sorts of good folks here, Dr. Hassan, commanding folks to show up and contribute. I wish I had folks like you on our campaigns. At any rate, Vinson, Susan, and I really think the world of you. We know you're a novice as far as politics, but you're exactly the type of person with the right motivation, the right ideas that are great for all the children, the school children in Fairfax County, because one of the best indicators of how a young person's life will turn out, in fact, there's two key predictors. One, a good family, and the other's quality of their education. And the best jobs go to those who are the best prepared. And so thank you for your willingness to run. We know, Susan and I know what it's like to run, to put yourself out there, to raise the money, to get allies for your campaign. And we're going to be with you the whole way through, Vinson. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my much better half, Susan, who always was volunteering in the schools where our kids went, because I think she's much more persuasive than I am in getting people to vote for you. So, Ms. Chickering.
Well done. Well done. Thank you. Welcome. welcome everybody. Welcome to our neighborhood as well. You know, I ride my bike past your home nearly every morning, or walk, or take George past, as if I can get him out walking as well.
On a choke chain.
Not really, but we love this area, and we have loved raising our children here in Fairfax in schools that are different from the schools where you are from, on the other side of Fairfax. It has its own challenges here on the eastern part of Fairfax. But we worked very hard inside the schools because we felt that we needed to boost the teachers who needed our help and those in the administration, but also we wanted to keep tabs on what our children were being asked to do and if they were being asked to do enough. And Vinson, upon our first meeting, I could tell you were somebody who was extremely involved, hands-on, and you know what goes on inside the classrooms. And you were involved because you wanted it to be better, not just for your kids, but for everybody. And that's what makes you a stellar candidate for the school board. Not only have you lived through the experiences you've had, but you're going to understand what the parents are coming to you with their concerns. Now, my only bit of advice that I will add to what has already been stated is that you're going to need a very strong army of women out there on your behalf, because frankly, most women are involved in education as they raise their families. You've got a dynamo wife here who is doing everything while you're out on the trail, and she can add her bits too. We've had a few conversations, but we know the most important thing is that she's extremely supportive of your candidacy as well, because she understands the importance of having good people in elective office. And that means the world to have your wife's support as you make this run on the school board. But we know that we have many women here who have been involved with the Republican Women's Club, the Republican Committee here, Valerie. They know what it's like to work all those back to school nights, go to the ball fields, to stand near the grocery stores, to ask people to vote for their school board candidate. Sometimes people don't even know that there's a race going on or who's running. But you're going to need these women out there with their strong networks talking to everybody, because they're going to be the backbone of getting you elected. And I know your message resonates with all of them, and you just need to make sure that everybody is aware of where you're going to be and what help you need, because I know you're going to have the forces here to help you win in November. You're a stellar candidate. We're lucky to have you running at large. And Fairfax schools are going to be much better off when you're elected. Thank you so much for running, Vinson.
Yeah. That's your introduction. Floor's yours. All right.
Perfect. Come on in.
Everyone's quiet. Got it? All right, Vinson, everyone, you're ready to go, aren't you? Oh, okay. A student from Fairfax County. You want to introduce her?
Thank you. We're privileged with your presence, Governor. And next speaker is, most from our community, the parents want their kids to become engineers or doctors or IT. But here is a breath of fresh air, somebody who wants to lead in public life. I don't want to speak more about her. I would like to welcome her, Naina Thomas.
Hello. Good evening, all. My name is Naina Xavier. I'm a freshman at Chansley High School, and Vinson was one of our family friends. So, for as long, I call him Vinson Uncle because, as you know, in the Indian community, you call everyone older than you uncle or auntie. No blood relation. For as long as I can remember, Vinson Uncle has always had this larger-than-life persona. Everywhere you went, one way or another, his name would pop up in the conversation. And over the years, I've seen him fight for what he believes is right. And I've really come to respect that. And although we may have polar political ideologies, which I'm sure some of you here can relate to, the reason I support him in his run for FCPS school board is because, number one, he has an unequivocal level of experience. Growing up in India, he understands how the Indian school system works, and as a parent here in America, he also has a good understanding of how the American school system works. So he has this perspective of how education works around the world, and he can really use these ideas and understandings to ensure that FCPS is the best it can possibly be. Also, as a parent, his two children are 6 years apart. So when his second child went into high school 6 years after his first child graduated, he realized that there was a lot of changes in FCPS. And he started to grow more accustomed to the changes that were coming to FCPS. And he knows the direction FCPS is headed towards. So he will fight and he will ensure that the direction FCPS is headed towards is the right direction. Second, as an Indian American growing up in America, I've realized that there's this expectancy for me to go into the STEM field, which really isn't my passion. I really love Vinson's idea for starting a art school. I think liberal arts is very important. Just like we have TJ for STEM, we should also have a school for arts like Maggie Walker. Third, Vincent is so passionate about everything he does. Whenever I go to him with a question, whether it be about politics or just everyday life, he treats me like one of his kids. He has that consideration for me. And I know that consideration he has for me, it extends over to every single kid in FCPS. One thing I've noticed is that the Indian community, they're very successful, whether it be in the medical field, business, or technical field. They're very successful, but when it comes to the decision-making field, they're highly underrepresented. Not because, we don't have the numbers, but because they simply don't turn to it. There's just so much that goes, if our future generations are to grow and flourish in this nation, it's very important that our people are in the places that matter, in the offices that directly contribute and directly make the decisions as to what kind of education I and all of your kids get. And Vincent, he's a man who's ready to stand up to those challenges and ensure that all our values and ideas are integrated into FCPS school system. I'm sure if you've ever been to Vincent's house, you've noticed a quote in his study room, and it goes that, "Do not go where the path may lead. Instead, go where there is no path and leave a trail." That is exactly what he is doing. He is etching out a path for each and every one of your kids, and I think that is just amazing what he's doing. He's also so approachable. A couple months ago, when we went out to dinner, my little brother and his best friend were talking about a political issue, because as you know, 9-year-olds these days take their civic duty very seriously. But Vincent sat down with them, had a solid 15-minute conversation, and listened to their ideas. And it's just so amazing that he's willing to listen and take in the inputs of even the smallest people. It shows that he has a respect for everyone, no matter how old or young you are. I completely trust Vincent with my education. He is without a doubt the perfect person for this job.
Yeah. Yeah. He could be running mate.
Yeah. He'll be running in a few years.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Naina, for those wonderful words, and